You didn't buy that thing because you're bad with money. You bought it at 9 p.m. after a brutal day when your brain had already made 35,000 decisions and had nothing left. That's not weakness. That's neuroscience. And the shopping industry has known this about you for years. Here's exactly what happens inside your head and why understanding it will change the way you think about money forever. Let's talk about what actually happens inside your brain when you're exhausted. There's a concept in psychology called ego depletion. It was first studied by psychologist Roy Baumeister in the late 1990s. The idea is this: your willpower is not unlimited. It's a finite resource. And every decision you make throughout the day, every email, every meeting, every small choice, it chips away at that resource. By the time you get home after a hard day, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational decision-making, long-term thinking, and self-control, is running on empty. And when that part goes quiet, another part gets louder. The limbic system, the emotional brain, the part that wants relief now. It doesn't think about your savings goal. It doesn't calculate next month's rent. It just wants the discomfort to stop. And spending? Spending feels like relief. It feels like a reward. It feels like, finally, something for me. That's not weakness. That's neuroscience. Now let's add stress hormones to the picture, because this is where it gets really interesting. When you go through a hard day, your body releases cortisol. That's the primary stress hormone. And cortisol has a very specific effect on your decision-making. It makes you prioritize immediate rewards over future ones. Studies out of University College London found that higher cortisol levels directly increased impulsive financial decisions. Participants were more likely to choose smaller instant rewards over larger delayed ones, even when they logically knew the delayed option was better. In other words, stress doesn't just make you tired. It rewires your reward system on a chemical level. And here's the cruel part. The modern economy is designed with this exact vulnerability in mind. Why do you think app notifications ramp up in the evening? Why are limited time deals always pushed at night? Why does your feed suddenly feel full of things you need after a hard day? Because someone, somewhere, already ran the numbers on when your defenses are lowest. You're not overspending because you're bad with money. You're overspending because you're human, and the system knows exactly when to strike. There's one more layer here, and it's called decision fatigue. Barack Obama famously wore the same style of suit every day. Steve Jobs, same black turtleneck. Mark Zuckerberg, you know the gray t-shirt. People thought it was a quirk. It wasn't. It was a strategy. Research shows that the more decisions you make throughout the day, the worse your decision quality becomes by the end of it. Judges grant fewer paroles as the day goes on. Doctors prescribe more unnecessary medication in afternoon appointments. Shoppers make worse financial choices after prolonged browsing. Every, should I reply to this? And what do I have for lunch? And how do I word this email? Is a tiny withdrawal from your decision-making account. By 8 p.m., that account is overdrawn. And an overdrawn decision-making brain does one of two things. It either avoids choosing altogether, or it defaults to whatever feels good right now. That takeout order, that impulse buy, that wasn't a bad decision. That was your brain running on autopilot when the pilot was already asleep. So what do you do with this? First, stop trying to fight it with willpower in the moment. That battle is already lost by the time you're tired. The real solution is upstream. Create friction before the hard day even ends. Remove saved payment details from your phone. Delete shopping apps. Set a rule. Nothing gets purchased after 9 p.m. unless it was on a list before noon. Not because you can't be trusted, but because your evening self deserves protection from your exhausted brain. Second, give your brain a replacement hit of dopamine that doesn't cost money. A walk, a specific playlist, a 10-minute show you actually enjoy. The craving isn't really about the thing you're buying, it's about relief. Find a cheaper source of it. And third, and this is the most important one, notice the pattern without judgment. Track when you overspend. You'll almost certainly see it clusters around your hardest days. That's data. That's useful. That's not a character flaw. You are not bad with money. You're a human being with a nervous system that was never designed for modern stress, and a financial environment that exploits that every single day. Understanding the system is the first step to stopping it from running your life. If this reframed the way you think about spending, subscribe. Because this is exactly what this channel is about. Not tips and tricks, but the actual truth about how money and the mind work together. I'll see you in the next one.